Hey, this is your boy Pastor Jay coming at you with little words of inspiration and motivation. I want to encourage you, especially during these pandemics. This is a time we've never seen before, but I'm sure we will get through it with the help and the grace of God. Today, simply, I want to encourage you. I want to leave you with a thought that I hope will resonate in your spirit. Uh, I remember as a child growing up, my grandmother loved to garden. She would have us out there in the garden with her, helping her to take care of that garden. But I noticed that sometimes she would buy plants that she would plant in this garden. But oftentimes she would leave these plants in its pot that she brought it in for just a little while. Then as that plant grew, she would put it in another container and she would replant it in that particular pot. Then after a while, she would take it and then plant it in the garden. It took me a while to really understand why she would always replant it and then finally put it in its proper place, in the place it was destined to go. But then I understood that you can only have a plant that would grow only so much in a certain environment. And then after it reached its peak in that environment, you have to put it in a new environment. And grandmother knew that although it reached a peak in a certain environment, it still wasn't the full potential that that plant had. But she knew also that she could not take that initial plant that came in a very little pot and put it directly into a big garden. But it had to grow to the point that it was able and ready to be able to sustain itself in a garden with other things and with the elements and the animals that would come into the garden, that she knew that it had to reach a certain level of maturity in order to survive in this garden. However, I've come to understand that not only do plants have that same stage that they go through in their own life, you and I do the same thing. Our problem is that sometimes we're comfortable in the level of our environment. We're comfortable where we are, we're comfortable on how things are going, but we never reach our full potential because we never allowed ourselves to be repotted. It is all right to be planted in a certain environment, but after a while you have to understand that just because you were planted there does not mean that you will bloom there. And so therefore you have to be ready and willing to move to be replanted into a better environment that is conducive to your growth. Many times we are stunned right where we are simply because we're in the wrong environment. We've grown as far as we can go. We reach our peak in that particular environment. Yes, we've been planted there. Yes, that is home. Yes, that is family. But sometimes you have to get away from what is familiar in order to grow and become the person that God has destined for you to be. And that's not always possible in the environment in which you were planted. You reach a peak. When you realize that you are no longer producing, it becomes the time that you have to replant yourself. You have to move around. You have to go to another place in order to become the best you that you can be. And you can always be the best you that you can be. Stand in the place where you were planted. If my grandmother had kept those tomato plants or whatever plants they were in that small pot, they would never have grown to reach their potential to be able to reproduce. And she would never been able to enjoy what it is that she was trying to enjoy because she left it and she allowed it to be struck or to be stunned in the environment that it came in. All of us, we only have a certain amount of time that we are supposed to be in a certain environment. And when we reach a level of maturity, it is time for us to go to a new environment. Don't become complacent where you are. Don't become stagnated in the place that you are, and it's a place of no growth. The Bible even talks about a place called Lodebar, a place where there was no word, a place that was barren, it was unproductive. And I believe sometimes you and I, we are stuck in a place called Lodebar. There's no productivity. There is no advancement. There's nothing that we can get out of that place. but we're comfortable there because we are familiar with Lodebar. Even though it's a place of no word, even though it's a place of no growth, even though it's a place where we cannot advance, we are comfortable right there. But I want to challenge you that when you realize that you are no longer being productive where you are, to get to a point where you decide, hey, I need to replant. Yes, I was planted here, but I can't bloom here. Yes, this is a familiar environment, but I cannot become the best version of me that I can come. Be ready and able, willing to move, that you might be the best person that you can be. The best version of you, the best person that God intends for you to be, that you can bloom. You don't want to just become stagnated. You don't want to become dormant. You don't want to become unproductive, but you want to become all that you can be. And I want to encourage you also, even in this time that we are facing right now, it is a good time for you to develop into the person that you are meant to be. Why do you say it's a good time to develop into the person you are meant to be? Number one, you are away from all the distraction that's always distracted you. Most of America right now is under a stay-at-home order. You're supposed to be at home. And you can take this time to really get to know you, because you're not being contaminated by being around other people. You don't have to be on your phone all the time. You have to be on Facebook, Instagram, any social media. You can take this time to really search yourself and see what have you done to keep you in Lodebar, and what you need to do to get out of Lodebar and replant yourself, that you can blossom, that you can bloom, that you can be the best version of you that you can be. So when we come out of this stay at home, when we come out of this quarantine, we ought to be better person than we are today than we were when everything started. I believe God has allowed us this opportunity to rest and to reset, to be able to search ourselves, to examine ourselves, and we can see where we need to go in life. Move around, be prepared to accept and to embrace the change that comes in you. And sometimes that change only comes when you move from the environment that has hindered you, that has restricted you. I know you love them. I know they say they love you, but what kind of investment have they made in your life? Have you done all the investing? Or have you been a recipient? Has it been a mutual exchange? Sit down and look at these things. Stop one day for a couple of days. Don't call anybody. See how many times your phone rings. See how many texts you get. See who is really investing in you to help you become the best version of you that you can be. Replant, repot. Don't be affected by your surroundings, because your very surrounding that you are in now may be the very thing that is hindering your growth. The very people that you used to be around that you can't go around now could have been the very one that was hindering you and keeping you from being what you are meant to be. God knows your destiny, and He will link you up with the people that will fulfill your destiny. Be able to be uprooted from where you've been, comfortable, stagnated, and replant yourself in a place that you can bloom. Every ground is not fertile ground. Some of us, we may have been seeds that were planted in clay dirt, and clay dirt can only grow so much thing. We can only do so much. But when we're replanted in fertile ground, God knows exactly what we can become. And sometimes the very people in your life that are the hardest on you, they're the hardest on you because they see the very potential that God has placed in you, and they encourage you to always grow. And that means when you come to the point where you outgrown where you are, be ready, willing, and able to go somewhere else and be replanted. God bless you, and may He keep you, is my